We're live.
Live. I was gonna hit my vape. Should I open it?
Go for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Strange Tales Weekly. Tonight we have Robert Robinson, the author of Legend Tripping. He's joining us now. And also, as always, we have Eric.
Hey.
And Joe.
What up?
Yay! Welcome our guest. Yay!
Hey.
Welcome, Robert.
Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So I think we should kind of open it up and talk about what legend tripping is.
Okay. Well, Wikipedia has a really, I don't like their definition. It's defined as an adolescent behavior of basically breaking into buildings to do ghost hunts and, conducting illegal acts. Whereas I, totally disagree with it. My definition is to go on conduct an investigation into a legend being, cryptids, Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, the Jersey Devil, the Mothman. Conduct a paranormal investigation, on a haunted place. A ghost hunt. Look for buried treasure, which still plenty of it out there. UFOs. There's a lot of places where there's been strange objects that have been landed and stuff. Buried treasure. And mysterious places that have like ghost lights, gravity hills, and just mysterious stuff that happens there.
I want to talk about ghost lights for sure. I've always been fascinated by ghost lights, so I want to talk about that for sure.
Okay.
We don't have to do it now, but I do want to bring that up later.
All right.
Eric, Joe, do you want to toss one in? You want me to do?
Yeah, I mean, legend tripping. I've never really heard that term before you.
And it sounds so freaking cool. Like, I want to go do those things.
The term's actually been out there for a while. I mean, I heard it. In fact, I forget the name of the book. In fact, I forget the name of the gentleman that wrote it. But what made me become a legend tripper is, I like looking at different legends and stuff. But I kind of veered more toward the cryptozoology stuff because I like going outdoors and stuff like that. And my wife was more into the paranormal, ghost hunts and stuff like that. But we both enjoyed the UFO aspect. We became members of MUFON. Ooh. But she wanted to be called a monster hunter, and I didn't want to be called a ghost hunter. And we heard legend tripper, legend tripping, and we looked into it. And I said, well, that meets our, what we like doing because we like doing all that stuff. So we don't have to just, narrow ourselves down. And when people come to us with stuff, they don't just come to us with Bigfoot sightings, or they don't come to us with just ghost stories and stuff. They come to us with all kinds of stuff. Like I said, buried treasure and, ghost lights and, all kinds of weird stuff that's really fun to investigate.
So when did you first get into this kind of stuff?
Oh, that's a good question.
How did I first get into the whole thing?
Just any unusual kind of, yeah.
Well, I always tell best stories I can tell you is I got into it because of two movies that scared the crap out of me as a kid. First one was The Exorcist. Quick story. Me and my friend Tommy, we snuck in because we were 12 years old. We weren't allowed to go in, so we snuck around the back, got in, watched the movie. Movie freaked me out. We were walking out of the theater. I hear this couple talking about it, and I hear the lady say, it's based on a true story. It happened to a 12-year-old little boy. And I look at Tommy, I go, did you hear that? We're 12 years old. And Tommy goes, no. Tommy goes, I'm 12 and a half. I'm too old. You, on the other hand, you're going to get possessed. So anyway, it freaked me out. My mom had to have a priest come over, talk to me, and assure me that I wasn't going to get possessed. I did ask him to just do an exorcism just to make sure there was nothing in there, a little cleansing. But he assured me that there was nothing, I was just a stupid 12-year-old little boy. But I started reading about it, the whole story about the young man that it happened to. And, it's actually got a lot more of a poltergeist type stories in it too, because stuff was moving around his room. Second movie, The Legend of Boggy Creek, came out in 1972. It is about a Bigfoot monster down in the town of Falk, Arkansas. Very popular with drive-ins. We went to go see it, didn't know anything about it, got to the drive-in, saw the poster. It's like, oh, what's this about? And then I sat there and watched the movie from the back seat with just my eyes peeking over the top. And if you ever see this movie, the first thing it starts off by saying, this is a true story. So I was like, uh-oh. And then it just went on. And I mean, it's a very simple documentary type movie, but I tell you, you talk to any Bigfoot hunter out there and they've seen this movie. In fact, the director's daughter is in the process of restoring it into, with computers and bringing the quality back up and stuff. But anyway, those movies kind of freaked me out, but I started reading about it and I got into it. I found that, I stopped being scared and got, thought it was real cool. And then that awesome TV show In Search Of came on in the 70s. And I definitely became a fan of that. And then, real quick thing, in 1976, I went to a museum in Gatlinburg, Tennessee called World of the Unexplained. It was actually owned by Ripley's. And that just kind of solidified my my passion for the unexplained. And from that point on, I just became a big fan of it. In the military, I didn't get to do too much because, they keep you busy, But if I had got wind of it, or if I made it to a library, I could pick up some books. But I retired in 2003 to Florida, and then that's why I decided full time I was going to start going out and looking for that stuff, because Florida is a target-rich environment for legends and stuff.
Awesome. Is that museum still there?
No, it closed in 1986
Oh.
because of tickets. Yeah. I was talking to Edward Myers, the guy who runs Ripley. In fact, Ripley's headquarters is in Orlando, believe it or not.
Huh.
And I talked to him about it, and he said, "Yeah, there was two of them. There was one in Gatlinburg and one was in Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco. And they just closed it down. They took all the stuff out of it and took it to other museums. I did find the Bigfoot statue. I won a bet with Ed's assistant that they still had the Bigfoot statue. And she said they didn't. And I said, yes, they did. I know exactly where it's at. So I won a bet, which would really, there was nothing involved in the bet. It's just more or less I could walk up and say, aha, there it is. And she went, oh, crap, it is a Bigfoot statue, isn't it? So, but it was a neat museum. They had, in fact, when you walked in, there was a little television monitor that had Leonard Nimoy doing a little introduction to it. I mean, it was really cool. In fact, Ed gave me the laser disc of Leonard Nimoy, the introduction. Cool. But I can't release it because Leonard Nimoy's family I can get in trouble with them because copyright or trademark and all that stuff. So I can show it to people. I just can't give them a copy or put it on the internet or anything like that.
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
It was really neat for its time.
Yeah, I like the Ripley's Museum. I've been to the one in Buena Park, and then there's one in Hollywood. I went to the one in Hollywood, and I believe there's one in Branson, but I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right.
And I went to the one in Branson.
Let's just say, because that name rings a bell. I mean, when I was friends with Ed, I got to learn all about Ripley's and Robert Elder himself.
It was like one of my favorite things as a kid to get the Ripley's books, go to the museum, and yeah.
And each auditorium, as they call them, has a small section on legends, and usually dealing with that particular state.
Very cool. Yeah, I love it. I'm gonna have to go make a trek because they closed the one in Buena Park. Now I think I'd have to go to Hollywood.
Yes.
So I was reading your book, and I was really getting into the Bigfoot hunting. So can you talk a little bit about Bigfoot hunting with us?
Yeah, it kind of comes out that I really like doing that. Well, here in Florida, like I said, it's called the Skunk Ape, and in fact, I was just out last weekend looking for it. We were we found there's actually some caves here in Florida, believe it or not. We were out there checking them out. Do you want me to go over how to do a Bigfoot hunt, or just I mean, we've had a funny story when I was with my wife out on a Bigfoot hunt. We were out in this area, and I was setting up a trail camera in the middle of the night, and right next to it was this fence area. And she was sitting in the Jeep messing with her camera, and I was setting up the trail camera, and I hear some grunting noise. So I grab my flashlight and I span the area. Don't see anything. Go back to fixing the trail camera. Here's some more grunting. Again, I take the flashlight and I'm scanning. So then I got the trail cam up. So I kind of walk up to the fence and I scan down the each side. And I had a pretty good flashlight that had a really strong beam, and I didn't see anything. So I turn the light off and I'm just going to get quiet. And then all of a sudden I hear and it's like right next to me. I turn on the flashlight and all of a sudden there's these two glowing eyes looking down at me. And I fell back, and my wife said I let out a real unmanly scream as I fell back. And, she jumped out of the car with a flashlight. It was a stupid cow.
Oh my God.
I thought these darn things had bells around their neck. And well, just for the record, that's a zombie ninja cow, extremely dangerous. So I had I had a right
little cow. It was like,
But
hey, how's
anyway.
it going, sir?
But I mean, it's just how this animal got all the way up to me without me hearing it. It's just, I didn't know cows could do that, But
Silent cow.
ninja cow, that's what we called it after that. But my wife usually comes out with me a lot of times, or I hook up with some of the local Bigfoot hunting groups we have in this area, and of course I hook up with Matt Moneymaker's group, the BRFO, that from the TV show Finding Bigfoot. So, usually like recently I took some ghost hunters out. They wanted to go on a Bigfoot hunt. So we went out to an area, we got set up, and then I took them for a walk. I always tell people, let's take a walk in the daytime. Let's get familiar with the area. Plus we can look around, we can look for tracks, we can look for broken branches, maybe some evidence that the animal's out here, and get familiar with the area and the trails out there. So, we walked around, came back, and we found an old wooden bridge out there, which I knew about it, but I didn't really pay much attention to it. So that night we got back, we waited to get nighttime, broke into teams and went in different directions. And we did get a couple wood knocks, and we could hear something, but we did not see anything. But on the way back, one of the ghost hunters brought out a voice box and started doing a ghost and paranormal investigation. And lo and behold, they started getting some readings over at the bridge. So, what started off as a Bigfoot hunt ended up turning into a ghost hunt. And my wife was there, and she said that they got some really positive stuff. And, I asked the rangers about the bridge and if there's anything has ever happened there. And they said, no, they didn't know anything. But, we're in the process of researching that area to see maybe something did happen over at that bridge.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a paranormal aspect to Bigfoot? Some people think there's some multi-dimensional thing going on, or
I've read some of the reports. I have talked to some people. We had a lady come out with us one time during a Bigfoot hunt in the Green Swamp, and she told us that there was a vortex opening near this tree that we were at, where there was a sighting. That's why we were out in that area, because there was a sighting in that area. There is a lot of stories coming down about it. I mean, there's even stories where the Bigfoot has the ability to cloak themselves. And just recently, before I came on the show, somebody had got a hold of some of the hair, and the hair, what she says comes from a Bigfoot, has the ability to actually change color, which might go hand in hand with the animal's ability to cloak themselves.
To be fair, my hair changed colors at one point too.
Yeah.
What color?
Oh, mine started out brown and it kind of went to gray.
So you're a hair changing color, like a big.
Yeah, when that happens.
What about like psychic communication? Have you heard about that with the Bigfoot?
Well, the Native Americans believe the animal has got some spirit, psychic ability. It could actually. I was talking to some of the Seminoles, and they say this animal actually has the ability to make you freeze in place. I'm not so sure if that isn't just a person scared, because I've talked to some hunters, I've talked to some people who've been out there, and they've walked up on this animal and they just froze, and they just couldn't believe what they were seeing. So, but I mean, there are stories about the animal having psychic ability, and it's out there. Like I said, the Native Americans wholeheartedly believe it. It's not, even a theory with them. It's fact.
Mm.
I've heard this, and I mean, maybe it's coming with the freezing of getting scared too. They're like, people have said that Bigfoot can disable cameras, like telepathically, so you can't take a picture of them.
Well,
they're always blurry, right?
Yes.
Well, I think that story comes from because there has not been any pictures. Trail cameras have seemed to be ineffective out there, and we can't figure out what it is that these animals can pick up on the trail cameras. I mean, I do know that their senses are very acute. Their smell, their hearing, and their sight, and maybe they can pick up on these trail cameras putting off some kind of a noise to where they can tell them, and they just don't go near them. But it's a mystery why these animals veer away from trail cameras and stuff. I mean, I talked to a family that they had some activity out near their house, so they put up cameras, and when they put the cameras up, nothing happened after that. It's like they went away.
Cameras are Bigfoot protection.
Yes. In fact, my husband said that. He said, I'm going to keep them up there because I guess a couple of times that thing was smacking against the wall at night outside and waking them up and, spooking the dogs.
I'd be terrified encountering a Bigfoot.
I've talked to a few people who've seen them, and most of the time, the first thing they say is they just kind of freeze, like what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But I heard they're really fast too. I mean, maybe because of their stride, or.
Oh well, yes. I mean, yeah. I'll give you a story. 2012, a gentleman came and approached me. He had been hunting in the Green Swamp again. Thanksgiving morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, he was sitting on a tree stand, playing on his phone, and he caught movement. And he had a big, large palmetto field in front of him. And he looked over and he saw something walking. And at first he thought it was a guy in a ghillie suit. But he noticed it wasn't carrying a gun. And he said the way it was moving very, very fluent or very gracefully through the palmettos, where humans have a very awkward, very clumsy way of when we walk through them. And and then whatever it was, and he knows, again, it was very tall, a lot taller than any, person he ever seen out there. And it came to a stop, and he was just sitting out there sniffing. And he had heard stories about this thing, but he wasn't sure, again, if it was a guy in a suit. So he took out his cell phone, and he just pointed and started filming. And he said, just as he started filming, the thing turned up and just looked right up at him. And he said a chill shot down his spine when he said, that's not a guy in a suit, that's a real animal. And
I'm getting a chill. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like trying to put myself in that situation and going like, holy crap.
Yeah. Well, he said he stopped filming because he didn't know what the animal was going to do. Was it going to come charge at him, or was it going to run away? So he stopped filming, put his hand on his gun, and then the thing just took off. And he said, I couldn't believe how fast this thing took off running. He got on the phone, called his son and his dad, and, hey, get over here. I just saw something. And they got over there. And his son told me it took him about an hour, almost an hour. He said between 45 minutes and half an hour to get him to get off the tree stand. He was so scared. And when he got home, he went right to his room and just laid down. I said, he's never seen his dad do that before. So, I mean, this, had an effect on him. And I talked to him, and he wasn't interested in being on any television shows. He didn't say, I didn't want to, And he did show me the film that he took with his cell phone. In fact, he gave me a copy of it too. And it's not a very good quality. And again, whatever, some cell phones, when you start filming, the objects look further away than what they are when you. In fact, that was an example of a film that was taken out in Maika. But anyway, he took us out there, showed us where it happened. We found tracks, but they had been raining. And I did try to make some castings, but they didn't come out very well. But we ended up going out there, and I would put out a trail cam. And when I went to go retrieve it with my son, we ended up having something was kind of keeping up tabs with us that night, and it was walking through the woods and it was screaming at us. And when I pulled up the night vision, I could see some glowing eyes looking at me, but I didn't see a shape. And I have to be, you know, I don't want to make more out of the story than what really happened. You know, I want to be, but we did see some glowing eyes, and when we heard it breathing, and we did hear it scream at us a couple times. And it wasn't a bear, and it wasn't a panther, and it didn't sound like anything I ever heard. In fact, after the second scream, we pretty much boogied back to the Jeep because I didn't have any bear mace with me or anything, and you know, it didn't sound like it was very happy with us being out there.
Because I guess that leads into my next question. I was going to say, do you think like they're more animalistic, or do you think they're more like just another like another level of human or a conscious being? Or
well, I would say due to, you know, that's you know, they're where it dwells. I would say probably more on the animalistic. I mean, you know, it kills. It eats probably raw meat. It does, from my understanding, it doesn't have any knowledge of fire other than, you know, maybe what it runs into out there. Because I mean, we've never seen it. There's never been any reports of it walking around with a torch in its hand or anything like that.
This is true. Like,
but it does. It is intelligent, and that's what I tell people too. You know, you can't treat this like a stupid animal. It is very intelligent. But it is still a, you know, an animal that lives in the woods. I mean, it makes its home out in the swamps and in the forests here in the United States.
and I mean, I think isn't Bigfoot there a type of Bigfoot on almost every continent?
That's correct. I mean, pretty much down in Australia, it's called the Yowie. In China, it's called the Yeren, which means wild man. In fact, if you ever see that movie Big Trouble in Little China, the wild man has a small little part in that movie. In Mongolia and Russia, it's called the Almista or the Alma. And let's see, in England, it's called the Green Man. I'm trying to remember what it's called down in South America. But they do have in Malaysia. They have them in Malaysia and over in Sumatra. Yeah, like I said, of course, and you know, over in the Himalayas is called the Yeti, which actually that's not the correct name for it. That was just a term that, you know, a newspaper reporter had gotten hold of. The name escapes me, begins with an M, but that's what the Sherpas and the preceptor actually call it. They don't really refer to it as the Yeti. They do now to Westerners. If me and you and you know, we had went up to it, and they would refer to it as a Yeti for our benefit.
So it's not a Yeti.
So what are some UFO hotspots that you visited that some of your favorites maybe?
Ooh.
Oh, let's see. I've been to Roswell. When I was stationed at Fort Bliss, Texas, back in '87. A friend of mine actually was from Roswell, and I had one day gone on about, I want to go see where the crash site is. He goes, oh, you do? Well, get in the truck. I'll take you out there. So he took me out to both areas. In fact, he knew one of the ranchers out there that owned it. And again, this is 1987. And somebody had put up a sign saying crash site on one of the areas we went to. And I will say, I've never seen so many doggone rattlesnakes in my life when we went out there. But you know, I don't know what I was expecting to see. You know, maybe the government missed a piece. You know, and there was one sticking there that I got a piece of the flying saucer. But needless to say, there was nothing out there. But I mean, it was neat just to go out there and say, yeah, this is where it happened. But because you know, there's actually two crash sites out there in Roswell where it happened. And then now I understand today, in fact, when I was researching my book, I was talking to the lady in the museum. I guess one of the sites, the owner has prohibited people from coming out there. And it's not so much, he doesn't want, it's the danger factor, because rattlesnakes, which I can totally attest to, there is, you know, there's a lot of rattlesnakes out there.
Did we want to go back and kind of talk about how to set up a Bigfoot hunt real quick before we get deep, or?
Sure.
I can, whatever you guys want to talk about.
Yeah.
So going back to the Bigfoot hunt, what do you take along on something like a Bigfoot hunt? How do you set something like that up?
Well, first of all, we always go where, a recent sighting happened. If it's on private property, we've gone out there. We ask the owners, hey, can we come out there? 9 times out of 10, they say yes. They're kind of tickled that we want to come out there and do that. So if it's in the park area, or if it's street, which is even easier, we'll find a camping area close by. We get out to the area, get our tents up, or if we're going to stay overnight, and then we go start walking around. Go find out if we can get a hold of the witness. We'd like to try to get the witness to come out there and kind of give us a terrain walk, where he pretty much says, I was standing here and it came across the street right over there. And then from that point, we'll go look around, see if we can find tracks, or see if we can find some hair or anything that, this animal might have left behind. And then after that, we'll pretty much come on back. And, sometimes we break out the map, or usually on our phones, and we just, come up with different areas. Like, if the animal was going this way, obviously it's going to be in this location here. And we'll pick different locations and come at different angles from it. A lot of times here in Florida, especially in the woods, there are always some trails back in there, fire breaks. So it's pretty easy to go walking around back there. I try to when I take people out there, I try to stay on the main trails. It makes it a little bit easier, because once you start going into the brush, you can lose people real easy. If we take young kids with us, and we've taken some kids with us out there. I don't like to take them too young, but I put a little necklace on them that has a whistle and a little flashlight on it. And the reason is, if they get lost, especially at nighttime, if they turn on, they blow on the whistle, and they have the flashlight, they can light it. And with our night vision, I can see exactly where they're at. So anyway, we go into teams, we stay in areas, and a lot of times we get out to certain areas and we go static, where we'll just stop and we'll sit down and we'll just wait and just listen to see if it happens. And then we'll have a couple people that'll do some calls out there. We'll get on the radio. Hey, we're going to put on a call, so it's us doing it. So don't think it's a Bigfoot out here. So they'll do a couple screams. I've always had luck when I've had females do screams for some reason. Whenever, like one night we had a girl do a scream, and lo and behold, we look over in the field and we can see something standing out in the middle of the field with our thermal. So sometimes we get lucky. Most of the time we don't, because like I said, this animal doesn't particularly, is kind of camera shy for the most part. But, it's one of those things, you're not going to see it unless you get out there and go look. And I enjoy just going out there, just setting up a camp, just looking for it. Just being out there at night, I always tell people it's kind of like a roller coaster. It's scary, but it's exciting at the same time. And then, occasionally you get a wood knock to indicate that there's something out there. Or you do hear, we'll hear a scream. And then you might get lucky enough to see something on the thermal, or with your night vision glasses. And we stay out till, most of the time we stay out till about 2 o'clock. Maybe, if we're having a good time and we're really walking around, maybe 4 o'clock. And then we come on back to camp, get some rest, get up, discuss what we're going to do, if we're going to hit the same area up again, or if we're going to go to a different location, and then basically repeat the same thing. And again, it's usually about a weekend excursion that we usually like to do.
Awesome.
It's fun. I did a paranormal hunt, and it was supposed to be a ghost walk. Then it turned into a Bigfoot kind of mini hunt, and it was kind of the opposite of what happened to you. But I don't know if people know about the knocks or the vocalizations that you use for hunting Bigfoot.
I don't like to do the scream, because I don't think I sound anything like a Bigfoot. And unfortunately, I'm of this. It's like when you go up to your cat and go meow. Your cat looks at you like, So I kind of think Bigfoot's out there when we do a scream. That the Bigfoot's like, what are those humans screaming over there for? But like I said, I have had some, positive action when I've had some females do the screams.
That's interesting.
And as far as the wood knocks go, they do happen. I mean, not too long ago, me and my wife were out on the Florida Trail, and we were walking, and we got to a point where she said, I've had enough. I'm ready to turn around and go back. And we turned around, and no sooner had we started walking back, and we hear a bang on the tree, and I'm like, wow, that was a wood knock. And I was thinking maybe this, whatever it was, that was a signal that these two humans had turned around and were going back out of the woods. So,
it was like boom, boom.
I mean, most likely, and I mean, everybody pretty much, it's used as a signaling device to other Bigfoot out there. What actually it is, it's still up in the air what it actually is, but it obviously is some kind of used as a signaling. Even when you see the wood, branches ripped, they're using it as a signal to the others for some reason.
Someone in the chat wants to know if there's a location you've always wanted to visit and just haven't been able to.
I want to go out to the Roger Patterson, Bob Gimlin site, where in 1967 that he took his famous video or film. I have never been out there. I've been close to it, but never got to. That is like at the top of my bucket list to go out there and just walk the area and stuff.
Take some horses. You should take some horses out like they did.
Exactly. In fact, to be honest, I think that's one of the reasons they got to see it. I think that the horse smell overpowered the human smell, and because I mean, if you hear the story, they came up over the hill. The animal was bent over drinking, and it kind of looked up like, "What the heck?" I smelled horses. I didn't know there was people there, and they got up and walked off. So they got lucky, and people ask me, "Do you think that's real?" I do think the Patterson Gimlin film is real. I think it is of a unknown primate creature. I don't think it's a hoax.
No. Any other places?
Go ahead.
Oh.
I've been watching Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, yes. I talked to them on the phone.
Yes.
And right now, I understand they're not letting anybody out there unless you're a TV crew or something. So, but I really like to hit that up because, I mean, it's not just Bigfoot out there. I mean, there's shapeshifters. There's been some UFO reports out there, all kinds of stuff. The Native Americans say it's, they say it's not a good place. So that's another one on the bucket list. I would love to.
I'd love. We should become a TV crew and let's go.
I understand, like I said, they will let you in if you're a TV crew, but
what
they
if
just
you're
don't.
Making a documentary? Huh?
Yeah. Well, when I called, I was just researching my book. I didn't have it even think about it, but I kind of wish I had now.
Thanks, Chuck, for the question.
Thank you, Chuck. Yeah, that was a good question. Yeah, Skinwalker's really interesting. It's like there's like some weird energy there to make all that stuff happen.
Definitely. Like I said, something's going on out
They've certainly put money into investigating it.
They have. It's been investigated a number of times.
Where is that again?
It's in Utah. I don't know the exact location. If I pull out my book, I can. Like I said, when I was doing my book, I called out there. I mean, there's a website out there, and I called, and they were great. They're giving me an interview and told me I could put it in my book. But they also mentioned, don't just come up walking up to the front gate and expect to come in. We're not open for tours.
Yeah, Utah. It's in Utah.
Yeah, I'd like to go there. Yeah, that's a really cool place. I wanted to talk. Can we talk about paranormal stuff?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So I haven't gotten to the paranormal stuff in your book yet, but I'd just love to hear some paranormal stuff. What did we talk a little bit maybe about Winchester? The lighthouses.
Well, it's funny. Almost every lighthouse in Florida, with the exception of one, has a legend of being haunted. Of course, St. Augustine being the most famous of them all, which I've been to St. Augustine, and I have done a paranormal, but I think we had too many people there that night, and I think too many people were making noises for anything to happen. But we did have some action one time at the lighthouse down in Jupiter. And it was kind of funny because we weren't even doing a ghost hunt. We went out there, I took my wife and her family, and we went up to the top of the lighthouse, and her mom she has problems with her knees, couldn't come up with this. Well, I started hearing somebody coming up the stairs out, and I immediately, look down and I see her sitting at a park bench, and I'm like, okay. And my kids heard it too. They said, oh, somebody's coming up here. And that's why we'll walk in and we look down and we don't see anything. And when we went in, the noise stopped. So I go down and start looking around, trying to see if there's something making a noise other than it being paranormal. And I couldn't find anything. And when I got to the bottom, I walked out and, my wife's mom said, what are you doing? I said, we heard somebody walking up the stairs. My kids yelled down, hey, we can hear it again. So I ran back into the lighthouse. Again, it stopped, And again said, well, did you step on the stairs? Maybe you stepping on the stairs made the sound. When I walked back in, I did not step on anything. I just came to the entrance and looked up. Well, when we came out and we went to the gift shop, we mentioned it, and the lady did say, yeah, we've had, there is some stories of this place being haunted by one of the old lighthouse keepers. And it's ironic because most of the time it's in the evening. This is one of the first time somebody's came to us about it in the daytime, but that's pretty much, what you said, that, they hear something coming up the stairs. Let me think what else. We did a ghost hunt at a school in Bartow, because part of the Ohio High School is actually part of the high school that goes back to the 1800s, believe it or not. And it's funny because when we went to go do the ghost hunt, we were talking to the caretakers, the custodial workers that do, the cleanup at night. And they said that they go ahead and make sure when the kids leave, they do that part during the daytime because they don't want to be there in nighttime because they can hear somebody walking, they can hear whispering, they can hear noise, talking, and it just scares the crap out of them. So they always make sure that part's clean so they can go hit the new parts where they don't hear anything. Well, we went up there. We took some ghost hunters with us in there because, it's a pretty big building. And they set up some microphones and stuff and recorders. And the next morning, they actually got some, you could hear somebody talking. And it was up in the rafters and stuff. So, and we took it to the principal and said, hey, you got a haunted high school. And he said, cool.
That's really creepy. I would like to hear that. That would be cool to hear. Is it online or anything anywhere?
I gotta get my wife to see what I don't know what she did with it. In fact, funny thing is, I have her little recorder right here, but I'm not sure. I'm scared to mess with it. I might end up erasing it. I'm not sure.
Erase something really good.
Don't want to do that.
She sets up, but I think she still has it, if I'm not mistaken.
Where was the school again?
In Bartow, Florida.
Okay.
It's actually, near Winter Haven and Lakeland. Small little town. It's actually the hub of Polk County. But the high school in there, like I said, there's a portion of it is part of the original school.
Oh,
so we've done some paranormal investigations in some prisons. Sometimes we set them up in, I hate to say this, sometimes when we put the cameras up and stuff, we'll sit around, we'll go around, then I'll sit down and wait. Sometimes I end up falling asleep,
Yeah.
So we were at one that supposedly there was a ghost of a naked lady that was supposed to show up. I stayed awake for that one.
Did she show up?
She did not. I was bummed out on that one too.
Do you ever worry about catching like an attachment or something?
Oh, good question.
My wife said if that ever happens, she's gonna stop. She said if she ever gets pushed or punched or anything really physical with in one of these investigations, she said I'm gonna stop right there. But as of now, she said she's felt a presence and she felt something touching her, but she's never felt herself be grabbed or pushed. And again, if we always say if end up bringing something home and all that, she said that's enough. I'm not going to do it anymore. But as of now, that has not happened. So I hope it never does.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, really. I got there's a doll down in Florida. It's actually in the Keys called Robert the Doll.
I know. Yeah, Robert the doll. Ooh.
funny too, because if you ever go down there, it's the most popular part of that whole museum. And that when you walk in, for some reason, the people go, Robert the doll is the 2 rooms over. And you're like, I didn't ask that. But, you know, it's the most popular thing in there. And you go in there, and legend has it, you have to ask Robert permission to take his picture. If you don't, something will happen to you. You're cursed. And when you go in there, you're going to see all these letters taped all over the wall where people are asking Robert's, apologizing for not asking permission to take his picture and asking that them take the curse off him.
Wow.
And I mean, it's a spooky doll. It really is.
Did you take a picture of him?
I have a picture with Robert. And well, we took our picture when he came up to Tampa. They had the Taps Con.
Oh, nice.
Where the people from the Ghost Hunters were there. Linda Blair was there.
Oh, nice.
The Oyster Cult was there. You know, I'm a 80 I mean,
nice.
But they brought Robert up, and that's where I got to see him and get his picture. I think I did ask permission because I wasn't going to hex my trip. You know?
Yeah, I hope you did. That's where I was going.
Don't be messing up our trip. If it's something simple as asking his permission, then just ask his permission. So.
Yeah, cursed dolls or haunted dolls are totally a thing, man. It's so
yes,
scary.
they are. Isabel, yes.
There are a thing. It's so scary. I hate dolls. Sorry. Makes me hate dolls. No dolls around here.
My wife's with clowns. She can't deal with the clown thing. Just look, you know.
It's worse, like a clown porcelain doll. That would be horrifying.
Well, let me show you something real quick.
Do you have a clown porcelain doll?
No, something entirely different. I want to talk about a freaky looking doll.
What the heck? Nope. Yay! That is, yeah. Why would you have that?
This is from a movie called Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. It was a TV movie that came on in the 70s. It was remade not too long ago. But these were these little creatures that were hiding in the dark, and it scared I think it scared me and every other kid in my generation.
And you bought one.
This was the reason I would never let my hand dangle over the bed at night. I mean,
creepy.
You can't see it on YouTube too. It's exclusively. I mean, you got to get it on DVD. But I mean, it was a simple little costume too. If you look at it, I mean, it looked like a gorilla costume with just a mask, and the things would talk to this lady at night and just whisper, we're gonna get you, we're gonna get you, you know. And it was a pretty freaky movie. But I had this I had this at school one time. I had it, you know, some of my stuff there, and it freaked the cleaning lady out so bad. And she's Spanish, and she would not go into my classroom and clean because of this, you know. So the principal came to me and said, you need to get that out of your room because she won't go in there with that thing in there. So I had to bring it back home, and my wife doesn't like it, so I have to keep it up on the shelf, you know, where
where it can like gaze upon you as you walk into the room.
Yeah, it's a collector's item now, but I haven't really.
I bet.
I'm getting rid of it, so I mean, I don't really care what it's worth.
But no, that's great. It is scary though. I would be creeped out about it. I don't blame any of the ladies. Yeah,
that's my only really scary. I mean, I have a lot of Bigfoot toys and stuff around my room in here, and I got a collection of Bigfoot tracks and stuff. This is one that I like. This was actually from Florida. This was taken in 1976 in Brooksville, Florida, by a gentleman who had a marijuana farm.
Bigfoot likes weed.
Anyway, this animal was coming onto his property at night and was damaging his crops, and nobody believed him. So anyway, he went out one time and saw. I mean, he never got a good look at it, but he said it was a big hairy thing. I should say he never got a look at its face, but he did find tracks, and he made some castings to show some people. Well, he died. I forget when exactly he died, but the gentleman who's a friend of mine was a executor of his estate, and he went over there and was going to a trailer and found the tracks and called me and said, "Hey, Rob, come over. I want to show you something. And he showed me the tracks, and he told me the whole story behind it. And I said, well, can I have them? He said, no, I'm not going to give them. I said, can I make a copy of it at least? Because that's a great track. So at least he let me make a copy of it. So
Wow,
that's
huge.
it is, because there's been some misconception that, you know, the Bigfoot or the Skunk Ape down here is only like 6 foot and smaller. Whereas you can see from that track, it's just as big as the Bigfoots that are located on the West Coast.
Wow. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your book?
My book, Legend Tripping, The Ultimate Adventure, published by Adventures Unlimited Press. David Hedger Childress's company. It is a fully illustrated guidebook on how to go look for legends. I've broken it into different categories, you know, cryptids, which is, you know, Bigfoot and other. In fact, I even go so far as to break it into land cryptids and aquatic cryptids. So in other words, if you want to go look for Bigfoot, I have a section there. If you want to go look for Champ or Ogopogo or other river monsters, I go over how to do that. I go into how to do a paranormal. And when I did that, after I finished writing it with me and my wife, I took it to some other paranormal investigators. Rob Demarest from the Ghost Hunters International. I said, hey, Rob, take a look at this. See if I touched all the bases I needed to, but keep it basic. I went into the UFOs. I pretty much touch on UFO landings because, you know, I mean, for, you know, the whole thing about if you see a UFO in the sky, it's probably not going to see it there the next day. You know, it's just one of those, you know, I do, you know, comment if you're really interested in that stuff. MUFON is a good group to join. I touch on looking for buried treasure, which, you know, there's still a whole bunch of it out there. And you know, I go over the whole legality about it, you know, like, you know, some states you got to get a permit. You know, here in Florida, you have to get a permit, but you are allowed to actually walk around the beach with a metal detector. I touch on some of the mysterious places that I've, you know, like there's some places that got the ghost lights.
Ghost lights.
And Gravity Hills, I've always had, you know, we have a Gravity here in not too far up the road called Spook Hill in Lake Wells. But I, you know, speaking of ghost lights, you know, I took my wife and we got to see them. I touch on some of the stuff in my book about the history of those, you know, legend tripping. I talk about, you know, legend tripping. I talk about some of the who's who in legend tripping, some of the famous people out there, like Charles Ford, Ivan T. Sanderson, John Keel, and some of the like Josh Gates. Josh Gates is a legend tripper.
Yes.
Earhart, legend tripper. Lyle Blackburn, legend tripper. And then I talk about some of the legend tripping shows that have been out there, which I always, in my presentation, I'll say, guess who the most famous legend tripper is out there? And I show a picture of Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at the episodes, that's what they're, you know, looking into legends and stuff, you know. Of course, the movie Goonies is a very popular legend tripping movie. And heck, even the Tom Sawyer, a lot of people don't know it. The original Tom Sawyer has legend tripping in it too. I go over what to take with you. I tell about how to research it. I talk about some of the do's and don'ts, like don't trespass, don't go in the woods alone, don't go to areas by yourself. You know, they talk about, you know, somebody asked me, you know, about firearms. You know, I'm not against firearms. I don't take firearms with me when I go out there. For the simple fact, it just complicates things. You know, I take bear mace. For the simple fact, bear mace works on everything out there.
Yeah, I mean, right? Works on bears. It should work on a Bigfoot.
Snakes. It works on hogs. It works on people. You know.
Yeah.
And you know, look at, and the thing is, with a firearm, you know, if you intend to go in the wrong area, like here in Florida, there are parts you're not supposed to be at. You may not even know you're there. And if the game warden or the Florida Fish and Wildlife come up and they catch you with a weapon, you can actually be charged with poaching, even though you're just, you know. So I just take bear mace with me. That makes it simple.
So, I wanted to ask you, do you have any legend trips coming up?
Yes, because of here in Florida, it's cooled off. I got a couple of them that I'm looking at north toward the Panhandle, the Crystal River area. I want to go up there. I haven't actually did. I have, but I haven't been back up there in a while. We have a ghost hunt that we're going to be doing in a couple weeks in Stewart called the Gilbert House. We've been invited, some ghost hunters invited us to come over there and do it. One of the things I like to do too is when I take like a trip to, like I said, we have to go to Pennsylvania to see my wife's family or something, and we're driving up there, I try to look for things to detour to go check out. Like, you know, when I tell you about when we went to see the Brown Lights, I was on my way up to the Mothman Festival. And I detoured, you know, because we knew we weren't going to make it in one day. So we had to stop over. So I made sure we stopped over in that town not too far from the area. So that way we got our hotel, you know, had the wife get in the car, our Jeep. Thank goodness we had a Jeep, because I tell you, the trip up there, the road is like this going up there.
Ew, I cannot, nope.
And we went out there at 9 o'clock at night, and I kept thinking, gosh, I hope these lights show up, because my wife is going to be so ticked off at me by dragging her off.
For this detour over here.
Oh, but we got up there, and thank God the lights came out. You know, we got to see them, and it was really, really cool.
So, like, what do you think it is? Like, after seeing them and experiencing, what the heck is it?
I don't know. And, you know, I mean, in fact, scientists don't know. Scientists to this day have not been able to come up with a theory on what's making those lights. You know, they've even had, you know, taken people out there when they've appeared and to make sure there's nobody hoaxing. And, you know, they still can't figure it out. I mean, the legend is it's a ghost of this Native American tribe of these warriors out looking for their wives that were kidnapped. So the light is supposed to be of their torches as they're, you know, searching through the mountains looking for them. And I mean, when you see them, they're not in just one spot; they move around.
Does it appear like torch? Like, would you say like it's like a? Does it look like a torch? I mean, like it could. It looks
like a flashlight. I mean, when I saw it, I kept thinking that looks like a flashlight, you know. And I would get my thermals on, and I would get my night vision, saying, "Oh, you know." But I couldn't see anybody down. Well, not to mention it's kind of far off. I mean, I don't think I would have been able to actually see. But I mean, just the way they were moving, I don't see how a person could have moved so quickly around certain parts of that mountain so quickly, unless there was a whole bunch of them periodically turning the lights on. I can't see how there's a bunch of them out there. Okay, guys, let's go. We got to go scare some people. Some people.
It's like it's like 10 o'clock. Time to go do our nightly hoax for the rest of our lives.
Earl, you go over here. Fred, you go down here. And when 9 o'clock, we put our lights on, and we'll make those guys think they're ghosts down here. Got to keep this thing going. So I mean, I don't know how it's going. Like I said, scientists have conducted investigations, and it's a mystery, but it's a really cool one, and it's free to go to. You don't have to pay to go see it.
That's cool. That's something I'd like to see.
Well, that's what I want to hear about.
What's that?
I've been a fan of the Jersey Devil since I was a kid.
Yes.
I want to hear about the Pine Barrens.
When I first met my wife, and she, quick story, she had a aunt and uncle who lived in Jersey City. So she knew I wanted to go to the Pine Barrens. So when we were going out there, we were driving through the woods, and I kept thinking, man, these woods are real spooky. And she goes, well, that's because you're in the Pine Barrens. You're exactly where the Jersey Devil is. And she knew I knew a lot about the Jersey Devil. The whole story about, Mother Leeds having her 13th child and, making a comment, give it to the devil, and the child morphed into some creature that with wings. And then, there's two versions. One version that killed everybody, then flew up the chimney, and another version where it just flew up the chimney and made its home out in the Pine Barrens. But there has been sightings out there. There's still an active group out there that still does active investigations out there. I talked to them on the phone. Hopefully one of these days I can hook up with them, and because they told me that they have some hot spots out there where they've seen it. There was even a paranormal show. I forget. I think it was Paranormal Activity, where they actually saw it. They were doing a ghost hunt, but they ended up seeing something on the thermo, and it looked like whatever it was had wings. And again, they were doing something entirely different. They weren't looking for the Jersey Devil. They were doing a ghost investigation.
That's interesting.
It is. So, and there's people think that maybe it's a Bigfoot out there versus, that somehow they, I don't know where the wings came from, but, originally it started off with a reptilian type creature with wings. I'm not going to say anything like the Mothman, because the Mothman, it looks entirely different than what the Jersey Devil does. But like I said, there are still reports out there. It has seen, some people have seen it, hunters have seen it. So, again, that's another one on my bucket list to hit up again when we go up there. I meant Atlantic City. I didn't mean Jersey City. I apologize for that. I kept thinking, I said, there's no such thing as Jersey City.
Maybe there is somewhere. We don't know.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy. Yeah, we did a little. I did a little cryptid episode back in one of our second or third episodes, and we talked about the Jersey Devil.
Just watching that today, as a matter of fact. Yeah. One cryptid that's starting to gain popularity is the Dogman, which is basically a werewolf. I mean, somebody said, well, what does it look like? It looks like a bipedal wolf, a werewolf. There was a book, published best-selling book called The Beast of Bray Road, where up in Wisconsin one was seen. And, they're going back and looking at some of these Bigfoot reports and finding out some of them may not actually have been a Bigfoot, might have been a Dogman. So what that can be, that's going to be interesting to find out what that is actually. I mean, I don't believe the whole thing about a human turning into a wolf, but it's going to be interesting to see what that animal is when we get a better look at it, so to speak.
I wonder if the Dogmen fight with the Bigfoot or if they have a truce now.
That's a good question.
There's a sci-fi movie for someone to make.
Yeah, I guess, probably if anybody's reading this, I've been waiting to get a decent story out there. Bigfoot versus the Dogman.
There you go. Boom! It writes itself.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah, I'll watch it. Okay, Bigfoot versus
Dogman. I like Sharknado too, so I mean.
Bigfoot versus Dogman. I'll write that, and we're gonna sell that on the side. Boom. No, but like, werewolf or like Dogmen have been like around too in many cultures, and
I mean, especially in Europe. Of course, most of the stories I've read in Europe, it's more of a canine, just a large wolf type creature. But there are some stories of it, of a animal wolf-like walking on two legs. I mean, that's what I mean, we also have the chupacabra, which is down in Texas. Is kind of chupacabra initially started off in Puerto Rico as a reptilian type creature, not very tall, that was of course attacking goats and drinking their blood. Hence the word, chupacabra means goat sucker or blood sucker, something to that effect. But then all of a sudden in Texas these feral dog type creatures came up, and then it morphed into one of those. And I gotta be honest with you, I'm not really into looking for feral dogs. I mean, but the whole chupacabra thing, initially started off, it may be an alien animal, and I've even done a section of cryptids called alien animals, which the Mothman might be an alien. The Dover Demon up in Massachusetts. I'm trying to think of some others that have been out there. Oh goodness! I mean, there's even stories about strange lights being seen, and then later on, Bigfoot type creatures have been seen. So there may be that UFO Bigfoot connection out there too. I mean, it's been thrown out there. It's something that I don't, like I said, I haven't seen it, but I don't ignore it.
Wonder if the aliens are dropping off Bigfoots here.
That's actually been a theory that these aliens are using our planet as a zoo type. I mean, don't forget the old $6 Million Man episode back then, you know, where Bigfoot was tied to the aliens then.
Oh man,
I'm showing my
aliens plus aliens and Bigfoot. Okay,
So
gotta add that.
you mentioned Europe a little bit ago. Have you done any international legend tripping?
When I was over in Germany, though, we went over and did some ghost hunts in the castles.
Oh, that's cool.
I didn't get wind of any cryptid creatures, and I did ask. I did ask. So I just, it kind of more or less was turned into just a lot of paranormal, because Germany has just got a whole bunch of old castles and stuff, and all of them are supposed to have, you know, all of them are supposed to be haunted. And so, I mean, we went up to the old Frankenstein castle, which during Halloween they open it up and they put people in costumes and turn it into a big, huge haunted house. But we went up later on when they, you know, put everything away, and we ended up doing a ghost hunt up there. Didn't get anything, but then again, the whole place is just that place is spooky.
Felt haunted for sure.
What other castles in Germany did you go to, or was that the one?
Well, Castle Frankenstein is the one I remember. The other ones, I really don't remember their names, because I mean, it seems like every little town that we went to has a castle of some sort in it. Sometimes they're really big, sometimes they're just ruins. I mean, one right outside our where I was stationed over there in Kaiserslautern, right up this hill was the old ruins of a castle that was supposed to be haunted. So we went up there.
There's that one Wewelsburg Castle where the Nazis did their like black magic rituals.
Okay, yeah, I heard of that one. That one, when I if I'm not mistaken, that one was in East Germany at the time, and when the wall came down, Germany opened up, and we were able to go to a whole bunch of other different castles that we couldn't during the Cold War. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that castle you're talking about was part of East Germany at the time that I was over there.
Okay, that one's got to be pretty creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And Europe's trying to embrace the whole ghost hunting stuff too. Like here, they're opening up their area, and you know you can go there at certain times and go on a ghost hunt too. So I mean, it's kind of cool.
I want to, like, how do you find ghost hunts to go on with? Like, do you contact paranormal groups? Like,
yes, and you would be surprised how many groups are out there, and it's not that hard to get an invite. I mean, they're always wanting inviting people to come out, even if you don't really want to join, but you just want to go on one with them.
I just want to go on one.
I mean, same thing with Bigfoot hunts. They always encourage people to come out with them.
I'd like to do a Bigfoot hunt, a ghost hunt.
Mm-hmm. Now, treasure hunting is a different thing, because
they're probably like,
they don't want you coming with them, because they want to keep whatever they find to themselves. So that's that. You may be able to take a tour of the Superstition Mountain, but as far as hooking up with treasure hunters, they keep to themselves for the most part.
That would be nice. Wouldn't that be nice to find some treasure and just retire?
You cut out a bit there, Joe.
Yeah, you cut out a little bit. It was a slow motion for a second.
I'm just dreaming of finding treasure and retiring.
Oh, is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
Well, the problem is when you find treasure too, the state usually steps in. So I mean, you really got to have your duckies in order. I mean, Mel Fisher, who found that Atocha off the coast of Florida, I mean, he was in court with the state of Florida for the longest time before he was able to keep all of that gold.
What if you don't tell anybody and you just like take it and sell it?
Well, how do what do you do with it?
I know then you got to find somebody to launder your gold into cash.
I have to do too, yeah. Knock at the door and say, "Listen, I have two piles. This pile, I don't care what happens to it. This pile I need money for. And we just won't say where it happened, so I don't have to declare it in my taxes."
Right. Well,
So,
at
yeah.
least there's no taxes involved with like ghost hunting or Bigfoot hunting. So that sounds more easy to get into.
The only thing I don't like is like some of these places, Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia, they charge you now to go do a ghost hunt. You know, before that, they, you know, it didn't used to be that hard. And I mean, recently we were trying to go do a ghost hunt in an old theater, and we didn't even know if it was haunted. It was just an old theater. So I asked the lady if we could do one, and she says, "All right, it's going to cost you $400." I said, "What?"
Ouch.
Yeah, $400. I said, "Lady, we don't even know if it's haunted yet. You know, you can't charge me that kind of money." And to be honest with you, sometimes it's just better to go in there and just set up cameras for the night, leave, then come back in the morning and get the cameras and see if something happened, you know. Then, if, you know, you get an idea. And, you know, contrary to popular belief, not every house is haunted, you know. I mean, I'll give you an example. In the town of Jim Thorpe in Pennsylvania, there's a place called the Carbon County Jail, and on one of the walls is a handprint. And what it was put there was by a gentleman, part of the Molly McGuire group. And before he was hung, he said, "I swear my innocence that my handprint will never go away." He hung him, and that handprint is still up there to this day. And they've tried to clean it off and all that stuff. And it's, you know, you can go in there and take tours and stuff. Down the road, there's a place called the Harry Packer House. And it was the house they used to make the Haunted Mansion. It was the idea for the Haunted Mansion in Disney World.
Oh, nice.
The Harry Packer House is not haunted, and it looks like it should be. You know, you look at this place, this house should be haunted. You know, but it's not.
That's funny. He's like, it looks like it, but it's not. I wanted to also bring up that you're writing a second book right now, right?
Well, I'm in the middle of 2 books. I'm currently researching about the Florida skunk ape, because they've never done a book, and I've kind of hit a wall on that one. I found a gentleman that's got a whole bunch of research information, and he's been kind of stingy about letting me see it, but I'm going to keep on working on it. But I was talking to my publisher, David Hatcher Childress, and we were talking about possibly doing a sequel, you know, international legend tripping, where I'm going to start researching places in different countries on certain things too. Because I mean, God knows there's all kinds of stuff out there, you know, especially paranormal, ghost lights. You know, of course, you know, you got cryptids. You got the Loch Ness Monster. Like I said, there's in Russia, like I said, they got the Almista. That's their version of Bigfoot. So I'm just going to start researching that stuff. You know, as far as taking stuff, I'm going to have to do a little bit of, because of course, you know, you need visas when you go to some of these countries and stuff. And some of these places are very careful about how, you know, letting you go in there. And of course, the whole thing with bear mace, you can't transport bear mace to different countries.
So would you probably have to like find something once you land, huh?
You know, like I said, I guess I would try to avoid, but you know, ghost hunting, you don't need bear mace, because bear mace doesn't work.
That's true. I mean, if you needed bear mace to go ghost hunting, I don't think I would be into it.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be real, you're not going to need it if you go to Loch Ness, you know, because I mean, yeah, but I guess, you know, that's an interesting idea. I mean, again, I'm going to have to look at some of the legends over there when I start putting it together. And then, you know, I do have a lot of friends on Facebook from different countries over there that I've made. And then I'll just start hitting them up and getting some ideas on stuff. So I'm kind of excited about doing it because, I mean, like I said, it's all over the place, you know. Canada, Canada, of course, has Bigfoot, and it has Ogopoga in the Lake Okanagan. And they have a castle up there that's supposed to be haunted. So I'm really kind of looking forward to getting into that.
Oh, that sounds so interesting. I can't wait for that. But it's going to take a little time for you to do this one because you got to go. You got to go.
Yeah. Well, I've kind of somewhat started it. I've used my other book as kind of an outline guide. I just, instead of being stuff in the United States, stuff in different countries. But I want to try to hit up as many different things in as many different countries as I can. Because, I mean, there's so much out there, and I think it's probably going to be a thicker book.
I was like, it might have to be 2 books or 3.
I just might have to. One might have to be about Europe. One might have to be in Asia. You know, who knows?
Right?
That's true. I never really thought about that till you said that. It might be that way, because, like I said, you'd be surprised how many legends are out there in this world.
I mean, yeah, like the possibilities are endless. Like legend tripping Europe, legend tripping Asia, right? So like you got to do a few.
Absolutely.
Are we about to the end of our time tonight?
Yeah, we're pretty much getting there. Do we want to talk about where we can find your book again?
Ooh.
Well, if you go to Adventures Unlimited Limited Press, you can find it there. It is available on Amazon. And if you ever see any of the conferences that I'm speaking at, I will be there selling my books, and I'll even sign them for you.
Is that largely around Florida then?
Well, I'm starting to branch out. I'm starting to head north a little bit. My name's getting out there. I'm hoping to head over to Texas. There's a couple Bigfoot conferences coming up out there. I'm hoping to come out there. So hopefully we'll see what happens. Just wait for some of the invites to happen.
Awesome.
Hey, if Adventures Unlimited does another conference, we'll have to have you come up to Illinois.
That would be great. Like I said, oddly enough, and sadly enough, I've never met David face to face. I've talked to him on the phone, and God knows how many emails we've passed by, and I've always wanted to meet him. I mean, this is really cheesy, but not only is my publisher, but I consider him a friend and a mentor, because the whole secret behind my book was David.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Robert, for joining us tonight. It was a blast. We'll have to do it again.
Great time.
Yeah, I think we got a lot more stuff we could get into. We got all kinds of legends.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you. Get legend tripping.
Yeah. Yay. It's good. It's a good book. Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to stay strange.
All right.